Hello, everybody. Okay, hello. Yeah, so let's get serious. Yeah. Good day. Welcome back to another day. Okay, I was just thinking, I'll just make a very brief video. Okay, today. But then, what I'll be talking about is actually gonna be. I just want to prove something to you guys. Okay, so you guys can understand and see that, science today is coming to a point where we are able to validate the things that they say, such as dinosaurs having lived and such as prehistoric man having lived before Adam and Eve. Science has advanced to such a level that we're actually able to, validate these things, date them back through DNA tests and all of that. So I just wanted to show something from the books, okay, which actually buttresses and it supports a viewpoint, okay, that yes, prior to Adam and Eve being created, man existed, and I believe that yes, that would have been prehistoric man, okay, which science has been able to validate these days, So, but let's just dive into it so that without much ado, let's go into it. Um, first of all, let's just read Genesis, okay, chapter one. Fine, it says in the beginning, verse one. In the beginning, it should be God's because Elohim. Bereshit bara Elohim Ata Shamayim v'Yataretz. So that's in the beginning, God's created the heavens and the earth. It says, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. We are all familiar with that story. Okay, but in verse 26, it says in verse 26, and God's said, okay, it's not and God said, but fine, let's just read it and let's assume it says and God said, which we know that's not the case. But anyway, it says, and God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and blah, 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 blah. Verse 27 says, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. So man, as a species, is male and female, right? That's what it's trying to say there. So he created them male and female in the image of the gods. So of course that should give you an idea also that the gods are also male and female. But that's another day stuff. That's not why we're having this conversation. So let's just focus anyway. It says, and God blessed them, said to them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it. Okay? But let's just back up a bit. And this is where it's beautiful anyway. Verse 26 says, let us make man in our image. The first question that you'd need to ask yourself, they were speaking amongst themselves, right? And then they say, oh, let us make man. No one is asking, what is man? Why? Because every one of them is familiar with what the creature man is. You know, they're all familiar. But then the difference this time around, it says, let us make man. But this is where it's different. But this time, in our image. Let's make man. Everyone knows what man is. So we'll be talking about those who, the homophilies and all of that, who were all bent over. That was man, and they all knew that as man. But this time they say, in our image. Let's make man this time. In our image, you're going to be standing erect, not the Homo erectus, the Homo sapiens anyway. You're going to be standing erect, okay? Just as we do, speaking of the gods now. Male and female, okay, we'll make them in our likeness. So they're going to be able to think. We'll give them the ability to think. So when it says, let us make man in our image, first of all, no one is asking what is man. That's number one. Take note of that. Why? Because everyone knew what man was. Okay, but the difference now with the man that was going to be created now is that this man was going to be made in the image of the gods. Why? That would tell you that the previous man that existed was not made in the image of the gods. That's number one. Okay. Previous man that existed was made bent over. Yes. So that is why science today is discovering, skeletons and all of that, and they run DNA tests and they say, oh, this is Homo erectus and all of that shit, all of that. So that's what he's talking about there. So when he says this time around, let's make man in our image and in our likeness, and let them have dominion. That's only one aspect of it. If you look at verse 28, it says, "And God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth." Now, the word replenish is remarkable. Why? Because you cannot replenish something that wasn't there before. That's number one, okay? So when it says be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, refill the earth, that's what it's saying. So that would tell you that yes, man existed prior to this time, okay? And that man that existed prior to this creation, that man was not in the image of the gods. That's number one, okay? And that man was wiped off the face of the earth. That's the truth. We'll get there. Don't worry. That man was wiped off the face of the earth. But this time around, the man on this time, this creation which they were speaking about, was going to be in their own image. And then this man now is blessed and says, and he's told to refill the earth, to repopulate the earth. That would tell you that the earth was once populated. But now this man is giving a command, and he's told to replenish the earth, spread out all over the earth. Again, that's what it would mean. Okay. But anyway, that's by the side. Now, let's take a very close, quick look at the book of Jeremiah. Okay. Like I said, it's going to be a very short video. I'm not going to make it long so that I don't keep anyone here. Then, Jeremiah chapter 4. Okay, I'll just read a few verses here, but let's start from verse 23. Jeremiah says, speaking of a vision he had of the distant past, he says, I'll tell you how I know it's the distant past anyway. He says, I beheld the earth, and lo, it was without form and void. If you go back to Genesis chapter 1, what did it say? It says the earth was without form and void, right? Without any form of life, and it was empty. That's what it means when it says in Genesis chapter 1:1. But Jeremiah is speaking here in chapter 4, verse 23. He says, I beheld the earth, and lo, it was without form and void, without any form of life, and it was empty. He says, and the heavens, and they had no light. That's why in the beginning, God said, the first thing he said, let there be light. Why? Jeremiah is speaking about a distant time from before Genesis chapter 1, verse 2. So he says, I beheld the earth, and lo, it was without form and void, and the heavens, and they had no light. Okay? He says, I beheld the mountains, and lo, they trembled, and all the hills moved lightly. Obviously, something happened there. A devastating event occurred. He says, I beheld the mountains, and lo, they trembled, and all the hills moved lightly. Definitely an earthquake. Could have been, like we like to say, the Big Bang. Maybe an asteroid bumped into the earth, whatever. Okay, so he says, I beheld, and lo, there was no man, and all the birds of the heavens were fled. As I beheld, and lo, the fruitful place was a wilderness, and all the cities thereof were broken down at the presence of the Lord, and by his fierce anger. Now, let's break down this briefly. First of all, he says, I beheld the earth, and lo, it was without form and void. Genesis 1, 2, chapter 1, verse 2. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, right? It says here, and the heavens, and they had no light, so darkness is present. So he's speaking about a time from before the creation of this present race of man. It says, I beheld, the mountains, and lo, they trembled, and all the hills moved lightly. A devastating earthquake, probably caused by an outward incursion of probably an asteroid, we don't know. But it doesn't even matter right now. He says, I beheld, and lo, there was no man. Now, this is very important. When he says, I beheld, and lo, there was no man, it is interesting for you to observe. Observation, that's the key word here. It is interesting for you to observe that ever since the creation of Adam till date, there's never been a time when there was no man on the face of the earth. Even during the flood, there was still man present on the face of the earth. And up until the time when Jesus returns, there will still be man present on the face of the earth. So definitely, he's speaking of a distant past. That's why I said I will let you know how I know that he's speaking of a distant past. Because he had a vision of the distant past, of before the creation of this present race of man. So he's describing his vision. He says, I beheld, and there was no man on the face of the earth. First of all, he says the earth was without form and void, right? It was empty, without any form of life, and it was empty, He says, and there was darkness. The heavens had no light. There was darkness. The hills moved, the hills and the mountains moved, right? As I beheld, and there was no man. All the birds of the sky had flown away. What is he trying to tell you? He's giving us an idea of everything that happened prior to the creation of this present race of man. That is why when they were going to create Adam and Eve, they said, let us make man. They already knew what man is. So no one is asking what is man because they already know. So let us make man, but this time it's going to be in our image. It's not going to be like the man we made prior before. Man this time is going to be in our image, okay, and in our likeness. And we'll let them rule and we'll let them to refill the earth. That's what it says there in Genesis chapter 1, verse 28, when it says replenish the earth. That's refill the earth. Okay, so what am I trying to tell you anyway? All of these pointers, okay, these little things which we tend to neglect when we study the books and all of that, it actually, once you put it all together, it amasses into a very wide range of knowledge that if you look at it and then you look at science, you would understand that science is actually buttressing most of these things that have been written. But the problem is that we do not have a proper understanding of the things that have been written. So to so many, there seems to be a contradiction, okay, of what's in the books and the discoveries being made by science. Why we say discoveries, they're already present, but then we are just having an understanding of them. So to us, it's a discovery, but then it was always there, you know? So anyway, what I'm trying to tell you now is this. See, when science says that there was prehistoric man, better believe it because yes, there is prehistoric man. That's the truth. Okay? But he just wasn't in this image that we are in today. Yes, and that's correct. Like it says there, let us make man in our image. So everyone knows what man is, but this time man is going to be in our image and in our likeness. Okay? And prior to that, the earth was without form and void. Jeremiah now gives us a vision of the distant past, and he says, "Oh, I saw the earth, and it was, without form. You understand? It was void and without form, and it was dark. The heavens gave no light, so there was darkness, of course." And he says there was no man. That's the key word there. There was no man on the face of the earth. From the time Adam has been created up until the return of the Christ, there will always be man on the face of the earth. So that will let you know, okay, that he's speaking of a distant past before the creation of this present race of man. So yes, indeed, man has always existed, but not just in this form in which we are, which we stand erect like the gods do. But previous man wasn't created in this image and in this likeness. Okay? So that's that anyway. I just thought that I just share this, put this out there. You guys think about it and then go and look at what science says and look upon these scriptures. There are a lot more there, but we can just settle on this for now. Look upon the scriptures and then align them together, and it will help you to see the broader picture, okay, of the things that we've actually overlooked and misplaced, over time. So that's all I'll leave for you guys today, and I'll catch you next time, probably next week. I'm going to be doing something on the power of Melchizedek. You'd really want to watch that. Believe me, it's interesting and it's beautiful, and it's for the now. Actually, it's something that's going to actually help you keep yourself on the power that you have, on the command that you have over the spirits. That's what's going to be, but that's going to be some other time, probably next week. Okay, so do have a great day, have a wonderful time, and stay blessed. I'll see you guys again. If you've not liked our videos, hit like, subscribe, and share. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, bye bye, ciao, bye.